But what about people that tend to pretend?
Okay, it still goes to when we are intentional with our partners. Now, we cannot take out the place of pretense, but I
Mm,
personally don't feel people can pretend for too long. So I always advise when you're in a relationship with someone, if you have to go on up to 5, 6 dates every month, it should
okay.
not always be a particular kind of date. Go out to the park, take a walk, see how they relate to children on the street, see how they talk to people on the road, get to see them in every possible environment. I'm not saying the moment you realize that your husband is or your wife has tendencies or have violated you once or twice that you should run away and pack. But if they are open to learning and knowing better, that's fine. But if you realize that this individual one day would kill you, it's always best to have a better plan, a backup plan. Yeah, that's for people who are married.
Hi guys, welcome to another spectacular episode of the Bliss Hour. And today we are going to be talking about something crucial, always on the news, something that is common in the society. Guess what that is? Domestic violence in relationship. I also have a guest that will be talking to us about that topic. But before we do the introduction, let's go on a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. Like I said, we have a guest that will be doing this topic for us today. Please do us the honor of introducing yourself.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is SB Crux, singer, songwriter, psychologist, and a voiceover artist.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
So, like I said, we'll be talking about domestic violence in relationship. Can you tell us what domestic violence is and paint a picture of what this actually means?
Okay, in simple terms, domestic violence can simply be said to be actions or um, behavioral patterns that are done towards someone we have intimate relationship with the aim to either intimidate or to humiliate them.
Okay.
Now, they can either be psychological, verbal, socio-economical. They can also be which other possible okay, sexual and a few other possible ways whereby people can be violated domestically.
Okay. So, can you paint a picture, give a scene of this domestic violence?
Okay, I will paint the I think the simplest picture that we whenever we hear it, it's either a husband beating his wife up or a boyfriend beating the girlfriend or a girlfriend beating the boyfriend or a wife beating up the husband.
So, in other words, you're trying to say sexual abuse and rape are part of domestic
Yes,
violence.
yes.
Okay. So, are there valid reasons or justifications for this act?
Well, I wouldn't call it a valid reason or justification, but there are reasons that can, or factors that we can say influence or lead to such actions. But
Okay.
these factors are factors that, with proper guidance, they would not get to this point. But there is no statement or factor that justifies such actions.
Okay. Then tell us the causes of this act.
Okay, there are numerous causes, but I probably will just talk on the psychological or
Okay.
the environmental cause. Psychologically, some people grow up to see parents who were either victims of domestic violence or
Okay.
the individuals that carried out the act. And it leaves an impression in these individuals, and they grow up with this knowledge of um, either believing that it is right to, harass or abuse your partner, or they feel it is okay to be abused or harassed. And
Okay.
that's for psychologically. Now, environmental wise, the environment which this child grows up in has a very big role to play in their understanding of how life happens. So children who grow up in environments where every day they see men beating women or they see people just always settling disputes violently,
Okay.
they would grow up to have the knowledge that whenever there's a misunderstanding with someone close to you, the only way to get to settle it is by violence.
Mm. So you're trying to say that these are the major bases or causes of such acts.
Yes.
Okay, let's go to marriage and relationship.
Okay.
Before going into a relationship with somebody or getting to say yes, I do with this person, are there signs you will see that yes, this person is an abusive person, either be it male or female?
Okay. Firstly, I'd like to say it's important for us to not just look out for partners because of what we like,
Okay.
but for things that we would not like or not be comfortable with. Secondly, in such cases, there's what we naturally call red flags, where
Okay.
signs or symbols that make you say, oh, this person is a no no for me. I would not say it's wise to prank or try to piss them off to see how they react. But when you are in a relationship with someone, you would be able to tell from the way they express disappointment or anger and the rest. And even from conversations, this is something most people, individuals don't get to do. They don't really get to have serious conversations when they are in their dating phase.
Okay.
Um, very sensitive topics can be brought up, and then you get to see or hear your partner's actual view on this matter. So, say for instance, there is a situation or an argument or something is trending about a lady who was violated or a guy who was violated, and then you bring this matter up, and your partner's views are not as logical as you expect them to be. You know
Okay.
that this person to an extent has this in mind, and if we are sincere with ourselves and look out for these little pointers, how do they behave when they are trying to get something to work and it is not working out? Do they start to slam things? Do they start to hit? Because it's that simple. From people who pass aggression to non-living things, one day they will pass it to living things. So these little things will make you understand that, oh, this person may possibly, and also back to the conversation point, ask questions about their family, the background, what is accepted as a norm. Because if your partner tells you, my father at some point maybe gets to shout or hit my mom to calm her down, you should know that
Okay.
someday it's going to be your turn.
But what about people that tend to pretend?
Okay, it still goes to when we are intentional with our partners. Now, we cannot take out the place of pretense, but I
Mm.
personally don't feel people can pretend for too long. So I always advise, when you're in a relationship with someone, if you have to go on up to 5, 6 dates every month, it should
Okay.
not always be a particular kind of date. Go out to the park, take a walk, see how they relate to children on the street, see how they talk to people on the road. Get to see them in every possible environment to know, oh, this person can be like this, or this person would not one day be like this.
Okay. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
Now tell us about the consequences on these victims after being with an abusive partner.
One of the most common or most common things that gets to happen to these people are the fact that they become very insecure.
Okay.
There's also the idea of being disassociated from their environment. So now the problem is, let's say for example, a girl who um, was abused. The tendency for her to just happily get to blend in with the gender that abused her or people, it would not always be that easy or frequent. Why? Because there's always this fear of what if it happens again. So, but until such persons get to go through proper therapy, and then they can get to gradually get to heal and be back to normal setting. But without that proper distance, there are always little factors. And then there's also the factor of the fear of it happening to people around them. So there's that tendency where they just try to spoil whatever they feel will lead to it. So such person, even when they are married, become very protective of their kids.
Okay.
Or if she's not married, she becomes too protective of her friends. So even the slightest, maybe just random conversation where a guy just wants to sound like a guy with some a kind of strong voice for her friend, she already begins to have feelings of, oh, this guy might be this, and wants to spoil that stuff. So
Okay.
there's insecurity, there's the social disassociation, and then there are other post-traumatic issues where they relive those moments, and some of them end up being depressed or even suicidal. And there's also the one where they get to inflict pain on themselves over time. And I think the worst would be having extreme low self-esteem, where they begin to feel like they are not worth so much because they've been humiliated or made degraded by other humans like them.
Okay, so you're trying to say that these consequences are common on the
Yeah,
victims, like
very
all
common.
victims.
Yeah, every victim, yeah, they
So I know I hear of some people say that they've moved on, that is in the past and all that. Is it that easy to move on?
healing is an individual or will I say personal decision. Nothing is that easy to move on, but when they decide to move on, they actually can move on.
Mm. So let's talk about the law system. Do you think they are really doing enough as to such acts, like punishing the offenders and all that? Do they do enough?
Okay, firstly, the law system is, let me not go and say what make them arrest me, but let's say this. The law system, I think, is a little bit more serious in cases of unmarried people,
Okay.
say a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Yeah, they are. I think there are rules where they can be arrested for, I think, 3 years, or I think, yeah, something like 3 years, or there are fines to be
That if
paid
you report them.
for. Yeah, but then you need actual evidence for this. But then in the case of marriage, it's a little bit tricky
Okay.
because we have a system where the man is believed to be the head of the home and has ownership of his wife. So there are cases that would be swept under the carpet, especially when it comes to sexual issues in that case. So I cannot just say, oh, the law system generally has a ground um, rule or is doing the job perfectly. But we are in a country where there's so much work to be done still, yeah, in that regard.
So are you trying to say that the law system are not doing enough as to such regards, or they are trying their best, but it's not really enough
I think as the country Nigeria still has a lot
to
to
do?
grow or to get
Okay.
into. So there's still so much more to be done.
Okay, so talking about true love and obsession, because yeah, some people can be obsessed and be in a relationship just because they are obsessed. So can true love or obsession make someone to be in an abusive relationship?
Okay, true love in from the angle of the victim,
Okay.
yes, but for for someone who truly loves someone else to be violating the partner, no. So
Okay.
the victim may truly be in love with the individual who is violating them, but obsession can actually lead to violation.
Okay. All right. Now let's talk about the solutions. Where do you think the solution should start from? Like the
Okay,
first place that yeah can help to solve this problem. Where should it start from?
okay. Firstly, I would say it should start from the home.
Okay.
Every family, every father, every mother should have the right knowledge about how to be a father and a husband, how to be a mother and a wife. The children should be raised up with the right knowledge because this is our first environment for learning. And then it goes down to the environment where we are born in. And then it also gets to affect the secondary school, for those, the religious folks, the church, the mosque, or wherever they go to. So this right knowledge should start from the roots, from the
Okay.
moment the child is born, from the moment the child starts to play with their peers, and then they're a little aggressive. They have to be taught the right thing, that you can actually discuss with someone that gets to offend you and not have
Okay.
to, physically get to um, hit or beat them to feel that, oh yes, they now understand that you're very upset with what they did. So you
Okay.
should start from the roots.
How about social media? Because yeah, there are some people that be like any situation they are in, they can find a solution on social media. They want to social media for backup and all those stuff. How about that?
Well, social media too has been one of the strongest tools for spreading the whole idea of accepting domestic violence and the rest,
Okay.
because everybody has their own opinion to give. But if we have people putting out, if we have enough, because I know there are people doing that, but if
Okay.
we have enough people putting out the right information on the internet, people would get to now see that, oh, it's not really right to be abused, or I should not just accept abuse because I think I
Okay.
don't know so much, because now there's enough knowledge,
Okay.
going around.
Okay, so the internet, talking about sensitization, the internet and some non-governmental organizations, are they also doing the enough? Are they working to also prevent such acts?
Well, non-government organizations are trying their best to, sensitize the public, but then there's the issue of being in an African setting
Okay.
where it still goes back to, like I said, it goes back to the roots. Where these organizations can do the best they can do for that the small environment that they have, but with more individuals who are ready to like preach this message of domestic violation being a crime, I think at some point we would have better results.
Thank you so much for all this educative discussion.
Thank you.
Then finally, say something to our audience out there. Advise them, especially the ones that are in marriage already. What can they do if they're already in an abusive marriage before you go down to abusive relationship?
Okay, I understand that most times we always look at our partner from the point of love, which is
Yeah.
beautiful. But I'd like us to also think about ourselves sometimes. I'm not saying the moment you realize that your husband is or your wife has tendencies or have violated you once or twice, that you should run away and pack. But if they are open to learning and knowing better, that's fine. But if you realize that this individual one day would kill you, it's always best to have a better plan, a backup plan, Yeah, that's for people who are married. And then for those of us who are yet to get married and you are dating and you're already seeing signs that this person is going to violate me or abuse me at some point, same thing still goes. You can have conversations with them. Let's find out if this is how they were brought up. If this is the knowledge that they have, there's always room for therapy, there's room for improvement. When you realize that this is not something that they're ready to outgrow or get out of, you're yet to marry. You can get married to somebody else.
Wow, thank you so much for this interactive section once again. Thank you. So, guys, you've heard from the mouth of the psychologist. If you see these signs of an abusive person, run, no, no let person tell you first. Meanwhile, do not forget to leave a comment on our comment section and follow us on our social media platform at the Bliss Hour. I remain your humble and gorgeous host. Peace.